Good day, everyone, or good evening, everyone. I guess it depends where in the world you are right now. This is Juanita Kapp signing in for Meticulous Moments, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And that's why we interview leaders from across the world. We interview the most amazing people who have done remarkable things, who go at it every day, and who never stop. People that believe in tenacity and endurance and perseverance, and I think that's what makes them special. They never give up. And it doesn't really matter what type of day you had, because every day is a wonderful day, guys. Doesn't matter what we face. Every day has the capacity to be a wonderful day. And here at Meticulous, we had a wonderful day. And that's why we are here. It's 11 p.m. here in Texas. And I'm going to bring on a very special guest, David Black. He's on another continent and he's here with us. How amazing is technology letting us be able to do this? Now, guys, I just want to thank all the Meticulous Moments audience members. You are very, very special to me. Thank you for all the guests that have come on here. Thank you for everybody that's become a part of the family, including the MAM members, the Meticulous Martial Arts Mastermind members. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later in the show. But let's bring on our guest here from the green room, David Black. Welcome, David.
Hey, thank you for having me on the show.
You're so welcome. Thank you for making the time. Tell us, what time is it there in Australia now?
2:01 p.m. Saturday afternoon.
And it's Friday here in Texas, guys. How amazing it is that we can connect here and talk about the things that we really are passionate about, bringing community upliftment, bringing people together, raising leaders. And we're going to talk about a lot of things that really are exciting, like the martial arts and movies and filmmaking and directing. But before we get into that, David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, I've sort of been a jack of all trades with most of the arts. I was a cartoonist when newspapers existed. So I was the editorial cartoonist for The Truth. I've been in a band called Darkness Visible. There's all of the videos are still up online and we played live. As a kid, I was into martial arts, which is one of the things I never thought I would get back into. I mean, I did when I was younger. So in my 20s, 30s and 40s, I still thought, oh, look, I'm going to get back into martial arts one day. But with all of the different arts and everything I was doing, everything got in the way. I've been making films for the last 10 years. And I got into martial arts just after the lockdowns. So unexpected, by the way. I was 100% sure that I was too old and that I wouldn't be fit enough. And as things would happen, well, most people in Texas wouldn't be aware, but Melbourne was the most locked down city in the world.
Oh.
We weren't, for 2 years, we hardly weren't allowed out. When we were, it was always like a week would come up, we'd think it was over. Mm-hmm. And we'd be limited in what we could do. You weren't allowed to go more than 5 kilometres and you weren't allowed out for more than an hour. And you had to have social distancing, which was making filmmaking hard for everybody else. Yeah. And so, the lockdowns came to an end and we really didn't believe they were at an end. But about 3 months after the lockdowns, what happened was Melbourne was going crazy. We just had every festival you could imagine. So people were out every weekend. And this particular weekend was International Buddha Day, which I've actually gone to many times. And I went with my girlfriend. Yeah. And it was the first time I saw a lion dance at International Buddha Day. And the first time I'd seen one with my girlfriend. She's Chinese. Her name's Grace Liu. She's in the documentary.
Hi, Gracie.
She went nuts. I very rarely see a smile that big on her face, but she's going nuts and she's chasing the lion and she's trying to pat the lion. Other Chinese people are doing the same, and I'm thinking, this is strange. Maybe she wants to get into line dancing. I knew nothing about line dancing, by the way. And I found a place online that was in the city of Melbourne. And I said to her, do you want to get into line dancing? She said, sure.
Yeah.
And I gave her the numbers to call because it said that they spoke Mandarin and Cantonese. And I don't. So she got on the phone, and next thing we rocked up to line dancing. And what I didn't know is all of those moves that the people who are in the line are making are kung fu moves. They're not just making a line come to life.
Right.
If you watch their legs and even if you're into karate, you'll recognize the stances,
Yeah.
They're doing all of the stances of kung fu when they bring the line to life.
Wow.
Now, so they divided their lesson into 3 parts. One part kung fu, Jiaoge kung fu.
Yeah.
The other part was the line dancing, and the third part was the music. So we started doing that. At first, I wasn't doing the kung fu with her. I actually had an arm injury from, believe it or not, the lockdowns. You had to work at home, and my setup wasn't ideal. And from leaning forward with the mouse, I got what they called mouse arm, and I couldn't move my arm. I'd been on painkillers, but they kept asking me each week, do you want to join in? So after 3 weeks, I joined in, and the first thing I found was, oh my God, I am puffed, I'm sweaty, I'm not learning as fast as the others. And on my way to and from work, I always pass a kung fu place called Six Harmonies. So I gave the teacher there a call, and I said, am I too old to do kung fu? And he said, we've got a guy here that's 80 years old. So I joined up with Six Harmonies Kung Fu, hoping that I'd be able to keep up with the line dancing. Yeah. Now, after about 5.5 to 6 months, they actually told us not to come back. They said, we want to keep the space on the mat for people that are soon to be performing or who are already performing. So I suppose that's the beginning of where this documentary idea comes up, because I couldn't do better than I was doing. I swear blind. I mean, I've gone off to a kung fu club to keep up with the 1-hour lesson of kung fu once a week that they've got. So I was doing 3 hours of kung fu for every 1 hour there, and they still didn't think I was good enough. That problem has not come up at Six Harmonies. And the idea with the documentary is that kung fu is for everybody. I mean, they've got on their site that it's for everybody, but it's I think that's become a buzzword nowadays, that everybody says we're all inclusive. Not everywhere is all inclusive. Six Harmonies is. Grace's club is. As soon as we were asked not to come back, I said to Grace, don't throw in the kung fu. Now, she probably would have, because in China, the attitude towards kung fu is that it's for little children.
Oh.
Well, and I've got to say, the line dancing place is predominantly little children. I never felt like in place there in the first place. But kung fu in China really is mainly for little kids, and then the Tai Chi is for the old people.
Right.
The West is not Asia, you know. We're different. I mean, kung fu in China, there's schools with 50,000 kids, but, you know, they're not far off of reform schools. The kids that are too poor get sent there. The kids that are too poor are the ones that the parents drop them off at the Shaolin monastery. So kung fu in China is not the same as kung fu here. My thoughts are, like, I didn't even know any of this. My thoughts have always been that martial arts are for young people. Now I'm saying, guess what? I think these martial arts is for mature age too, which the documentary explores that. We've got 2 doctors who are martial artists on it. We have a martial arts teacher, myself and Grace, who are mature aged. So we're exploring that. And I believe that our society now, you've got the baby boom generation coming through to retirement. Some are retired, some are coming up to retirement.
Yeah.
And it's very important that they keep active.
That's right.
My parents' generation didn't seem to believe in exercise. Not that everybody in that generation believed in it, but in Australia, I mean, the typical guy would be sitting on the couch drinking beer, watching the football or the cricket on the weekend. They weren't playing it anymore.
Yeah.
Society has changed, that it's fitness is so big that on my way to martial arts, I pass at least four gyms.
Yeah.
I mean, this is in a 10-minute walk. All four are packed. If I walk the opposite way away from the club, there's at least 2 to 3 more. And if I keep walking past the club, there's actually 3 more on the corner, all next to each other, and they're all huge. So
all packed.
Yeah, but not with mature age people.
Yes, and I see these trends coming in, you know, and how everything changes. A lot has changed in the last decade. And I just want to say, you mentioned Chinese and Mandarin, you know, they're very difficult languages that I know, because I had Mandarin individuals in my one church, and they actually had a Bible that had the English and the Mandarin next to each other so they could translate. So I'm so happy that she could speak that. So kudos to her for being able to you know, communicate what she needed to communicate. But there's a lot of individuals. I had the same impression that you had. I always thought martial arts are for youngsters, and I wanted to do martial arts when I was young, and my mom blatantly said no, because in those days she believed it was only for boys and men. And she said, Juanita, you grew up on a farm. You're too much of a tomboy already. You're not going to do martial arts. That's not for girls. So I left it. And then when I had my kids, when my son was 5.5, I wanted him to do an extracurricular activity. So I took him to the dojo, and I saw this transformation in this child. And I thought to myself, well, I'm a grown up now. I guess I can start martial arts if I want to. But I wasn't sure if I was too old. And I went to the sensei, he's now Kyoshi, and I had the same question. And he said, you're never too old to start martial arts. And, you know, you mentioned that the Kung Fu was a line dancing. Actually is some of the moves that you do in Kung Fu. It looks like a dance. There's such a rich history to all martial arts, because in Okinawa, with the Shorin-ryu, Shorin-kan, the Shotokan, you know, that we practice, what they did was, while they were raising their armies, it looked like they were dancing. But in actual fact, they were practicing blocks and punches. And I always relish when I hear the history of the styles, because there's so much more depth in the arts than we realize. But, you know, as far as going to the Kung Fu studio and learning those forms, and as far as going to the line dancing, you know, it is an art that you're learning. So I mean, it's not like you just, I don't think people realize, it's not like you just walk in and, you know, it just starts to make sense. You have to train your body to do a lot of things at the same time. And and I think that's the biggest obstacle, is to get in that flow, to be in that energy where you are in sync with yourself, with the universe, you know, with the people that you're training, so that you can get into that flow of your energy. And then when that penny drops, when that clicks in your mind and in your spirit, I think that's when, you know, it all comes together. But you've had such a wonderful journey. And you've taken the knowledge that you've gained and you put it into film. And
well, that's because I made so many mistakes.
Right?
I've made more than most people. I think my attitude, I don't think my head sort of came together and said, hey, Dave, you're almost 60. I'm 60 now.
Mm-hmm.
So having done martial arts, well, I did judo as a teen.
Mm-hmm.
I somehow I just hopped into the club on the first day at Six Harmonies, and when everybody was running around the mat, I tried to keep up with everybody. They were already super fit.
Yeah.
And within about 6, 7 laps around the mat, and I'm going for about 20, I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I did that for about a fortnight. So constantly just doing more than I could until I got muscle failure after a fortnight. That's the point where most people would quit, but I didn't.
That's right. You didn't?
No. I mean, I actually got to 6 harmonies and started to go to walk up the stairs and go, oh my God, my legs won't work. I mean, I've been walking quite a few minutes before, but from squats and all of the exercises, I couldn't lift my legs to get up the stairs. I actually experienced muscle failure. I've experienced every problem you can imagine, and right at the moment, I'm just on the tail end of getting over overtraining, which I didn't realise is a major problem too.
Yeah.
I burnt out after about 11 weeks of the first term of the year and thought, okay, a couple of nights sleep will do me right. And it almost did, about a week. And then I went back to doing double sessions, 10.5 hours a week. And after 6 weeks, I burnt out again.
Right.
And this time it was serious. So, you know, I took maybe 11 hours sleep, then got up, and then I'm just like dead. I found out that overtraining, you have just depleted everything that's in reserve in your body, and it's got to come back.
Takes a while.
I'm just in the tail end of it. I'm going to take a week off of work with long service leave in about 3 weeks at the end of the term. Take a week off of work, and we have a week off of Kung Fu, and I'm just going to sleep and eat, and that should see me right. But that's another one of the problems with it. There's very little real information out there for mature age students. I mean, there are mature age students that are doing Kung Fu, but you go to a club and there's like that one old guy in the club, and in my club I'm one of 2 old guys. So there isn't actually sufficient information. When you go online, everything's just promo fluff. It's clubs telling you, hey, anybody can do it. I'm saying, yeah, anyone can do it, but
can they do it?
Well, they should be given the right information about hydration, nutrition, the rest breaks you need, and everything. So it's I know how stupid it was for me to have overtrained, but I did ask advice, and the guy I asked advice says, hey, the body adapts. It won't adapt to everything. I mean, if you jump off a building and go splat, your body's not going to adapt to that, and that's almost what I did with the overtraining.
You almost went splat. But let me encourage you, David, that happens to all of us. And I think it's because we get so enthusiastic about what we're doing, because it's you just feel like another person when you step out of the dojo. There, you know, and I think it's a culmination. It's this holistic treatment, this therapy that martial arts gives you when you're doing it constantly. But sometimes we get excited, and that's happened to me as well on different levels, not just even in martial arts, also as, you know, overworking. We overwork, we overtrain, because I think we are in such a busy lifestyle now. There's so many external influences. Everything's pushed for time, and we want to, you know, get ahead. And I think that happens to most of the martial arts. It's happened to me most definitely. And
it's a strong part of it.
For overtraining, you don't realize it until it's too late.
Well, it's a strong part of it, but I noticed today something that I just started noticing in the last couple of weeks. There's more to it. For instance, I probably shouldn't have gone to training today. I probably should have slept in because my body needs the rest. So I got to Muay Thai. I do Muay Thai as well as Kung Fu. So I got to Muay Thai tired, and as soon as the exercise starts, then suddenly I'm energetic. When we get to the end of the session, I could have gone for a second hour. Now I really can't go for a second hour because of the recovery. But from the beginning to the end, once the blood is really pumping, the adrenaline's really going.
Second breath,
you can't take that second wind. You feel like it, you want to. I mean,
it's like
the amount of sweat, the amount of sweat that I've dripped already. I mean, So this sort of information isn't being made readily available for mature age people. But if I was in the Olympic squad for any sport whatsoever, the coaches there know all about the nutrition, they know about the rest breaks, they've got everything. When you're doing Kung Fu, you actually are an athlete. And although I'm nowhere near Olympic level, the strain I'm putting myself under for my body at 60 is the same sort of strain that a 20-year-old at the Olympics is putting their body under.
Right. And we don't realize that. We really don't realize that. It's a lot of muscle groups in all the martial arts that you are practicing at the same time. And I've had this discussion with martial artists that, when you do jiu-jitsu, you are practicing and training different muscle groups than when you are doing your karate or your kata or your kumite. Or there's just different types of training. There's different types of cardio. And we have to be watchful, that we don't overdo it. But I'm sitting here thinking now, I love to connect people here at Meticulous Moments. That's something that I love to do. And the moment you started talking about exercising, the type of training that you have to watch and the diet and everything to re-nourish your body. I thought of my good friend in the UK, who's actually the first person to bring personal training into the UK, and his name is Alan Runacres. And I'm going to connect you to Alan Runacres because he's given me excellent advice in my martial arts journey. About pacing myself, what to eat, what to do, when not to do certain things. He is exceptionally knowledgeable about that. And for instance, let me give you one tip that has stayed with me. If you want to go and you really want to do muscle training for the day, and you just need something to give you that extra energy, he would suggest eating a Turkish delight and drinking a espresso. And I took those tips and I actually applied them, and they worked like a bomb. So I'm going to connect you with Alan Runacres. And actually, Alan, go put together a document for us, and let's spread it out to the athletes that are, like David, like us, that are not. We're not teenagers anymore, but we train hard, and we would like to see those tips. And now he posts a lot of content on Facebook as well every day. So, Alan, we're calling. We want that experience and that advice to kick in for us, please. And your documentary centers around that topic as well. Tell us about your documentary. And I mean, this is the first time, I guess, that you are talking about that on a podcast. I'm so honored. Tell us about that.
Well, with the documentary, both Dr. Michael Black and Dr. Greg Harris point out beautifully that for a person in their 50s and 60s, you're setting the foundation for when you turn 70 and 80. Now, one of the thoughts that kept coming to me just as I started the martial arts is, when did my parents get elderly? I was trying to remember because I've got two sets because they're divorces and remarriages. And three of them, well, my dad's now passed away, but I talk about him as if he's alive. They were in wheelchairs, using walking sticks and walking frames. And I think that they were doing that before the age of 80. So maybe 75. I can't ask anymore because Dad's passed away and my mum's actually got dementia. So,
sorry.
Oh, yeah, well, it's part of life. But now we're talking about our own lives. I don't want to, at 75, be immobile or having to have people help me up the stairs. Now, I do see people that are getting around at 80 that are just super fit. I don't mean athletically fit, but you're 80 years old. You get up in the morning, you decide, okay, I'm retired. I'm going to go off and get something to eat. After that, I'm going to go off to the community centre, hang out with my friends. Then I'm going to go see a film. You can't do that with your walking sticks and everything. You're always having to ask somebody to help you. And the amount of physical problems you can have at 70, well, at 50 and 60, these doctors were saying, do the exercise now, strengthen the muscles now, definitely get your balance together, which is the first thing you're doing in it doesn't matter whether it's jiu-jitsu or kung fu. In jiu-jitsu, you're going to be throwing people, so you want to keep your balance so you don't get thrown. Kung fu, you're going to be kicking, so you don't want to fall over every time you kick. So you're getting your balance together in your 50s and 60s and strengthening that so you don't fall over at 75. And then, well, Dr. Michael Black points out that the majority of people that fall over when they're old are dead within a year because of the trauma. There's a whole lot of knock-on effects that he doesn't go into in any depth, but I believe him. He said, you take that fall, a lot of them are dead within a year. And he said the main thing that takes people's lives is falling over. You know, well, I did notice that my balance wasn't quite right when I started up the kung fu. So if I have to wait for the tram to go somewhere, you know, maybe I've got a 10-minute wait, I stand on one leg for about 5 minutes, then stand on the other one for 5 minutes. I'm still working on the balance because I go to throw a side kick, and if we have to do it slowly and hold the side kick, I'm the first in the class to fall over. But somewhere between now and 75, I should have actually improved my balance that I'm not falling over at 75.
Yeah.
So a whole lot of it is about not just your health right now, but setting yourself up for the future so that you can actually live a brilliant life right up to the day you pass away, rather than slowly going downhill and asking everybody for help and having to have a carer.
That's right. That's right. You're setting that foundation for, you know, when those years arrive. And it's interesting. You mentioned something very, very important, and I know this resonates with other martial artists as well. You don't only do martial arts when you're in the dojo. You're doing martial arts when you're waiting for the train.
I was told to.
But that's the right way to do it, because you're utilizing that time effectively. And only those 5 minutes that you stand on the one leg and that other 5 minutes that you stand on the other leg, that is building up. It's like making little deposits in your journey to the perfect balance that you want to achieve. And that's what martial arts is. It's a journey, you know, it becomes part of the rest of our day.
Well, it's not just the tram. One of the teachers at my school, Shifu Rodney, said when he goes to brush his teeth in the morning, at lunchtime and at night time, he goes into the horse stance. And he said, all of your day, you can think of ways to do things. So when I go up and down in the elevator at work, which that's a lot of times during the day, at least once an hour, having to go in and out, I do 2 side kicks, a side kick either side, because you've got the rail in the elevator. I don't do it if somebody's in the elevator. If somebody gets into the elevator, I wait for the next one. So I do a side kick on one side and a side kick on the other. And over 4 months, that's about 3,400 side kicks. See? And Bruce Lee said you need to do a minimum of 10,000.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, whatever I'm not using every second of the day. That would be impossible because you do want to relax at some point. But when I walk to and from work, every set of lights I stop at, I'm either doing stretches on my legs, or I'm using the actual light pole, putting my foot up against it to stretch my calf muscles.
Right.
So, every day I'm doing something.
That's good. And you're staying in flow. You're staying in movement. You know, when I was a little girl, my mom worked at the old age homes. Yep. And she always used to tell me, my mom passed away and my grandmother as well, but they were always busy with something. They were always moving. You would rarely see them sit down somewhere and do nothing. And, you know, my grandmother reached a very, very good age. She was 89 when she passed, but they were always moving. And she used to tell me when she worked, and I went and helped her in the old age homes when I was a little girl. And she would always tell me, Juanita, never ever put me in an old age home. She said, because when people come, and there's nothing against old age home, guys, I'm just saying what my mom believed. She said, when you sit down and when you stop being active, that's when you get old. That was her belief. And I believe martial arts teaches us to keep moving. And if you can't, guys, like Coach Marvin King always tells me and the other students that he trains in Qigong and the other styles that he does, if you can't go to a session of 2 or 3 hours every single day, maybe your schedule doesn't allow it, at least do 8 or 10 minutes, because you're still in that movement, you're still keeping busy and you're still practicing. Or like David, do those stretches while you're waiting for the lights to change, or do that balancing while you're waiting for the train. But keep moving, don't stagnate, because that movement keeps you young. That movement helps you to stay in training, to not pull a muscle, to not get an injury. You never know. All these little things that we do, they amount to something bigger. And I think that's a very good principle that you're teaching the audience today.
Oh, I've been taught everything from somebody else, because even when I made mistakes, I went and talked to other people or researched things on the internet. In fact, I did a lot of research because I can't believe how many mistakes I made, but I went at it a bit too gung-ho. If somebody had have asked me and I was giving someone else advice, I would have said, oh, just pace yourself, but I wouldn't take that advice myself. I kept watching everybody else in the class.
Yeah.
And I thought, because when I first started, I couldn't even do a single sit-up. I know that 10 years before I could do about 50 or 60 sit-ups, because I always did a little bit of exercise, but not regularly. So I always did something, maybe at least once a week. I thought, hey, I better do some push-ups. But I remember definitely when I started doing the Kung Fu, it took me 8 months to be able to do one sit-up correctly. And I kept thinking it was all the fat that I had that was in the way. I've worked off most of the fat. I put it on mainly during the lockdowns, but it wasn't the fat. So, I'm watching everybody else and I'm seeing that they're getting through everything. So I made every mistake in trying to keep up with younger people, which I couldn't. I wrote about it for Tao magazine in an article called Martial Arts Over 50. But by the time I turned 60, which is just a couple of months ago, I realised that I'd made a new one in overtraining. And I thought, well, how many more mistakes did I make between then? Because I'm putting these out there as a guide because I want people to stick with it. The general figures that are given is that only 1% of people that start martial arts go on to their black belt. That's a very low figure. Well, when I started, there was an unusual amount of people that had just started in around the same month as me because of the lockdowns. So a lot of people started 3 months before me. So that actually were trusting that our lockdown really was over. I got my trust up after about 3 months. So what happened then was when I came in that month, there were more people. So all of a sudden, for 6 harmonies, there was 2 extra lines just of all new people in their white T-shirts. I felt a lot of camaraderie. I was looking up to all of these other people. I was watching how they were training and trying to keep up. Well, there's only one person left after 2 years that started in the same month as me.
Yes, that happens.
Yeah, there's one person that started 3 months before me, one person that started 3 months after. That's a hell of a lot of people dropping out. And when I look at my school, I'm not trying to be a sycophant, but my school's better than 90% of the other schools out there.
Right.
So
yeah. They must be doing something right. Absolutely. And we don't just learn. I think that's what makes, that's what gives the secret sauce, as they call in business, to these dojos, is the leadership there, the sensei, the kiyoshi, the sifu. Because if they are just teaching martial arts, that's something else than being a sensei or a sifu or a kiyoshi, because it's not just about the martial arts. That all resonates into the rest of your life. I've learned so many life lessons and gone through so many life events that were not related to martial arts, but I got that inspiration and that teaching and that leadership at the dojo. So it really starts to become, it intertwines with your life, and those are the facilities that have students that stay through black belt and after, because
Oh,
it's
for sure.
not just a skill that they learn, it's everything that's affected, and it's like your second home. When you go to the dojo, it's like your second home. It's your leadership, that you get there, that really keeps the people there. And it's amazing to hear that you found a place like that, a place where you can train, a place that you can also call home on
Well, I was
your,
lucky.
yeah.
I was lucky because when I first started, I thought, right, I'm only on 3 days a week. I didn't know anything about overtraining, but you don't get more sessions until you get to intermediate and get to senior. So I thought, you know what, I could fill in an extra couple of days. So I started visiting all of the other places in my area. For some reason, I'm in an area where there's a cluster of martial arts places. Yeah. Two of the ones I went into, I'm not saying anything bad about them, but they really, even though they think they're for mature age students, they certainly aren't. They're full of young guys that are muscly, that are really good. And one's a Muay Thai place, and they've got world champions. Wow. That's what they're aimed at. So they can say, oh, we're all inclusive. But, they start off their session with a 5-kilometre run around, and I thought, oh, my God, no. In the second place, they say they're all inclusive, but they're aimed at MMA. And I did their introductory lesson, and I made an excuse to get out of there, There was a big guy who wasn't fit, and he was the nicest guy under the sun. But if he'd thrown me one more time and I knew how to do break falls, he would have broken me. So I looked at him and said, great, the other place has got a reputation for producing people that go on to MMA, and they're very successful. In fact, that place is packed every minute of the day. If I walked out of here right now on a Saturday, they're open. They're actually going to be packed. The Muay Thai place, same story. They're always packed.
Yeah.
But then I don't want to say anything bad about them, but my opinion was they are not for guys that are 50 years old and over. So, and that wasn't the end of the story. I found that there's a whole lot of other places there like that. But if I went up the road, there's a nice Taekwondo place. It looks to me like it's really just made for kids. So they say, we're here for everybody. Well, the adults that are there are the parents of the kids.
They're watching the classes.
They're actually doing Taekwondo with their kids.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but I'd feel very uncomfortable. They're not my kids.
Yeah.
And so, I looked at it and I thought, well, I was actually very lucky. Now, it'd actually have been fine if I'd gone to the place that Grace went to. She decided when the line dancing finished to keep doing Kung Fu, and she chose to do Wing Chun. So 2.5 years down the track, she's still doing Wing Chun.
Good.
I was doing Shaolin, which is very similar to the Jiaoga that they taught at the line dancing place. Same stances, same blocks, same punches, but, different forms.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah. So, I looked at it and I thought, well, I'd have only been lucky if I'd walked into Grace's place or the place I'm at. How many people walked into the wrong place and didn't know better?
Right. Didn't know to go and look in different places. That has happened. I've heard of that happening before, where people would go look for a martial arts studio and they wouldn't find something that's fit for them, and then they give up the search. But there are those like you who visited different ones and who were able to pick the one that fit them.
And I was lucky on the first shot. Yeah,
You were lucky.
I
That happened for you. That's awesome because
if I'd walk
I was
into,
very lucky as well. The one that we are at does everything. It's MMA as well as karate, kickboxing, self defense and weapons. So it's a whole combination with jiu-jitsu. So you have like a broad base, and of course you have your favorites, right? In that
oh, for sure.
combination, but you were lucky you walked into the right one, and you're still happy there. Is that where GM Stewart is?
Pardon? Is
Is
that
that
what?
where your grandmaster is, Stewart?
Oh, Stuart, yes, yeah. Stuart would be livid with me if I accepted that he was a grandmaster. He's actually very humble.
No, I've
He,
noticed.
yeah, yeah. He's a very down-to-earth guy. I've very rarely seen anybody that can do the punches and the kicks better.
Skills, yeah.
But he's not only just teaching that. A typical kung fu lesson, there'll sometimes be some qigong where we've got to meditate for a bit.
Right.
Not every lesson, but every lesson does finish with a brief talk, maybe 4 minutes, on Taoism and Buddhism and relating that to the world. So it is a very spiritual place. So we bring that up in the documentary. I asked some of the other guys their thoughts about the spiritual side. It's possible that it's not so big in other places, but it certainly was at my club. And when I go back to being when I was a kid, it actually was when I did judo. The same club also taught Aikido, and I quite often was allowed to do the Aikido for free because I'd rock up an hour early and I'd be in the judo suit. And the Aikido always started off with meditation and finished with meditation. So you'd be breathing in and you'd be up and stop and you breathe out. So Aikido always had that. So meditation and philosophy, Buddhist and Taoist philosophy, I always saw them as being associated with martial arts. I feel that takes the edge off of the aggression. If you only taught to kick and punch, you're going to get some people that are going to go outside and think, I'm going to try this out at the pub. That's it. It certainly happened when I was a kid. Half the schoolyard bullies did martial arts, usually boxing.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. But when I talk martial arts, I mean the one that tempers you as a person. You've got to have a lot of mental strength to get through it anyway.
That's true. Yep.
So,
it's all in the mind, and there's such a big transformation that really starts in your mind when you become a martial artist. You find yourself. You work through the things that you faced, the things that you're facing, anger. I've seen so many things happen to students that come there, and that you can see they're angry because you can see it in the way they train and the way they respond. They're angry and they're there because they want to, maybe prove a point or learn how to fight and do something else with it. But as they grow and mature as martial artists, you see that anger being replaced by confidence and calm and this inner peace. And all of a sudden, it's not about the anger anymore. It's not about the issues that they faced anymore. It's more like an introspection that they do, an inward look that they have, a real rebirth, if I can call it like that. All the good qualities start coming out. It's like a diamond being pressed. That first initial few weeks is hectic for them because it's new and it's difficult and it's challenging and it hurts. You have injuries, guys. It happens, especially when you're in full contact dojos. But to see that process and to see not the end product, because it's a process that continues forever. Like martial arts is a lifelong journey. But to see that transformation, I think that's the most rewarding thing that I've seen. I mean, there was a student there at the dojo in South Africa. He was a brown belt for many years because he got to that place where he knew he could go for his black belt, but he just wasn't confident enough. And that went on for years. And we went to a nationals, and he was going to fight Kumite. And I decided I'm going to cheer for this. He was one of my sparring partners, very strong, very
Yeah.
fast. And I just cheered for him. And he won, he won every round, and he just went up and he won the gold in his Kumite. And that year later, he did his black belt grading and he completed it successfully. But at the nationals, he came to me and he said, and they call me Auntie J because I was a pastor. There they could call me Pastor J or Auntie J. And he said, Auntie J, thank you for believing in me. And that transformation, to see that last hurdle, him overcoming that last hurdle.
Yep.
It wasn't about the anger or the, not feeling maybe confident enough anymore. It wasn't about the fear. It was about knowing. He knew after he had gone through that he could do it. And he did it. And that is so rewarding. I mean, that is just, and that's what we go through, David. But we go through it in stages, right? It's like a cycle. It never ends. It's like the cycle. It's beautiful. Martial arts is beautiful. It's a gift to the world.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm looking at it with the mature. I think it's for everybody. Straight up, it was great for me as a teen, but
Yes.
on this one documentary, we might make more of them. You never know, but this one just goes into the mature age because I've noticed that a lot more people are retiring now. There was a big boom called the baby boom generation.
Yeah.
I'm technically not a boomer. I'm on that last year of the baby boom generation. So I sort of don't really fit into the baby boom generation or the generation after.
You're like in between.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was a teen, all of the things that came into being for the baby boom generation, various government programs and things, they just stopped, like about the time I got old enough to do them, so it's like, if there was a cutoff point for the baby boom generation, they were slamming the door in my face for all of the good stuff, just as I got there. Then they waited like 5 years and started new programs for the next generation. So I slipped in between the cracks somewhere. But I'm now seeing that my brother and my sister are retired. I won't be able to. I don't make enough money, but they're retired. And I'm seeing that all of their friends and their generation, all of the kids have grown up. All of the kids have moved out of home. This is with people of that age. What they're looking at now is becoming like my parents' generation did and saying, oh, in 10 years' time, I'm not going to be able to walk up the steps. I'm thinking, okay, maybe the gym would be fine for fixing that. But there is another problem, and that's crime. I'm sorry to bring up a negative, but you're pissed off. When I've been looking at, say, some of the violence that has been in the protests in the city, and I don't want to get into politics. Politics doesn't belong in a dojo. But there is a protest in our city every Sunday and has been for months and months. When I watched the footage and they showed that some of the protesters got violent, when I see who got attacked, it is not the people that can defend themselves. People are not going to go, oh, look, there's a big muscle man out there. He could beat the crap out of me. Let me go up and have a challenge.
Yeah.
They're going for the young children, they're going for the elderly, and they're going for people in wheelchairs. I could provide you with the footage of it. It goes up on YouTube. But I do believe you need to also be able to have the situational awareness that's going to come up from doing the martial arts.
Right.
But the ability to defend yourself if you need to. Otherwise,
be equipped.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're a victim in the making. Someone will
that's
mug
right.
you.
That's the truth. What you're saying is so true, David. You know, we learned at the very
Sorry.
beginning of our journey. I'm saying our because, you know, all the kids and everyone that's there and the other grown-ups, they teach you that if you, I mean, South Africa is a very dangerous country. The gender-based
Yeah.
violence there is like 5.1 times higher than in the rest of the world. So what they teach us there is you don't go to the city or out for your shopping and walk like someone, you know, who's maybe scared or clenching your bag or looking down on the floor. You walk like a confident person. You have this stern look on your face,
Yeah.
you know, and you're like you're in control because they are least likely to attack you if you do that. If they see that you look like you're meek or like you don't feel well, you're the first person that they're going
Oh,
to
for
go
sure.
for. And I
Yeah.
experienced that in South Africa one day. I was walking in Midtown in Queenstown, and that's in Eastern Cape in South Africa. And I had my backpack on, and I had another bag on my shoulder. And I was walking, but I wasn't feeling well, and I wasn't thinking about the lesson that I'd learned because sometimes we're not thinking about it. You're in your head. I have to do this and that, and I have to be there at that time. And I saw a man approaching me from the corner of my eye, my peripheral vision, and I just felt it. I knew he was going to try and take the bag off my shoulder, and I just gave him this look, like this look, warning look. And he just turned around and he walked away. And then I remembered my lesson. How could I forget that lesson? But it's really true. If they think you're meek or you're weak or you're not feeling well, they are going to. And that's what's happening at the riots where you are. They attack the people that they know can't defend themselves. So, what is David and what are we saying to the audience? Equip yourself to be able to protect yourself.
For
And it's
sure.
not always big moves. There's small moves that you can make that can protect you. Maybe people aren't all into the full contact thing. There's other ways you can protect yourself. You don't have to do full contact martial arts, but you can equip yourself. You can train yourself to be able, when you're in a situation, to take care of it and to walk away safely. So I
Well,
think
even if you
that's
get attacked,
yeah,
even if you're not doing full contact, most people, when they get attacked, are going to freeze.
they freeze because of
They're,
the shock.
yeah, they're scared. If you have been practicing and you, I don't know, 3 years down the track, you'll have probably thrown 20,000 chain punches,
Yeah,
30,000 if you're doing Wing Chun. If you're
right.
doing my style, you'll have definitely done your jab, cross, hook, uppercut. You'll know to throw the punches.
That's right.
Now, it was one of the things that just came to mind because I've actually been in quite a number of street fights. I'm not a fighter, but I haven't really lost any. I'm still alive. But yeah, I live in St Kilda and it had a very bad, nasty reputation for most of my life and still does if you go to the wrong part of St Kilda. Yeah, I've been jumped in the street, I've been attacked in the workplace. I've been attacked. I think I worked out that I've had about 10 or 12 actual full-on street fights. I've had my nose broken, I've had teeth
Jeez.
broken. So it happens. And I thought, well, that hasn't happened for 20 years.
Yeah.
Now, in all of those ones, I was young, I was strong, I was fit, and I really managed to beat the absolute living crap out of up to 5 people who've attacked me. That's 5 at once.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you do kung fu, you can fight 5 at once, but it's happened. And I thought, hang on, if somebody attacks me, I'm not sure I can defend myself now. I've gotten older, I've gotten slower. I find myself getting injured much more quickly.
Yes,
And
that does
and
change.
yeah, and if I'm taking notice of the news, they're telling me in the news that the world out there is more violent than what I remember. I actually don't think it is, but it is the same world that my grandparents grew up in. So, if I want to go out somewhere and I'm coming home at night, there is that risk. Some idiot will come up. I mean, in the last 2 years, Grace and myself have seen a lot of fights. We went to one thing that was in the city that was supposed to be all nice feelings, the big ethnic thing, everybody getting along together. And
Yeah.
two guys that didn't speak English and probably didn't even speak the same language of each other. I think they came from countries that were at war with each other. They're right
Yeah.
in front of us and they're screaming at each other in broken English. One's going to kill the other and saying things that you can't repeat on the
Threatening.
podcast. We're like that. Christmas Day, we're coming back from the church and there's a nutcase in the street. I saw all of the people reacting to him before I saw him to know what they're reacting to. He had a go. I turned my back on him and I was walking away.
Yeah.
And Grace was very angry with me. She said, you should have hit him. I think if he'd grabbed me, because I'm now trained, I just would have gone whack and done something.
Elbow.
But in retrospect, maybe he had a knife. I don't know.
Yeah.
We came very
Dangerous.
close. We went to the car show for Father's Day, just not far from us. Two guys had a fight. The only reason why anyone came in to split those two up is they were afraid that they would fall onto the bikes, and the bikes were just like extremely expensive bikes that were on display, you know.
Yeah.
So I think in 2 years we walked past at least a half a dozen fights, two where people tried to involve us. So they're there. It means that there's every chance it will happen sometime in my life, and if it doesn't, good. If it doesn't, I will at least be able to walk upstairs and hopefully and do things when I'm 75 or 80, which my parents couldn't.
That's right. That's right. Because you are building that foundation. And it's a daily thing, and it doesn't have to be in big steps. It can be in small increments. Some weeks we train a lot, we have that time. Other weeks we train when we can and for a certain amount. But stay in movement. Don't stagnate. Don't sit down. Don't leave it. If you're a martial artist out there, I actually spoke to my fiance's brother this week, and he was saying he has had surgery recently. And he was asking, can he get back into martial arts? I said, you can start again anytime. There's no time limit. There's no age limit. When you have finished your recovery process, then start slowly again. But just start, reach that goal.
My club lets
absolutely.
us work around injuries. So I had a rotator cuff injury. It's still got it, but it's not bad now.
Yeah.
But for 6 months, there was stuff I couldn't do. They said, keep coming along. I had a broken rib, which was a problem. It happened just in judo. Not that I do judo, but it wasn't actually a broken rib. It was something very similar that has the exact same thing. It's a strain, and you hear a pop when it happens. It sounds like a break. Forgot what it was called. But it happened in Runduri. I got trapped with this guy coming down on me, and I tapped out, but not in time. I couldn't actually get out from the guy coming down on me. I just got trapped in a weird way, and bang. And so most other people in that situation would have taken 3 months off, and I chose not to. And I told them about it. And I said, okay, just work the other side, just work this. I've been allowed to train with injuries for the last 2 years. I mean, the current one's almost gone. I strained a knee.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think a lot of people get that strain just on the inside of the knee.
Yeah.
So no matter what condition you're in, some clubs will say, keep coming, keep training, work around it and let it get better. And once it's better, then you start working on strengthening those muscles so that you don't get it in.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I'm sitting, here thinking about the title that I gave this episode. And it was Life is a Movie. And as we were talking this evening, I thought to myself, that's why there's so many amazing movies out there, because listen to all the things we see, we experience, we go through in life, in our families, in our workplace, in places that we visit outside for entertainment, in the dojo. Life really is a movie. Now, if I had to ask you, what is your opinion about life is a movie? How does that come alive in your creative mind? What would you tell the audience as we close off this amazing session? I'm sure we're going to have to do another session again because we have just started
Sure.
this conversation.
Well, I think when we say life is a movie, that everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Everybody has an interesting story to tell. So anyone that's out there that's watching this, you have a story too. With what we've done with our film is it's the story of about 5 or 6 people. So it's the story of my girlfriend and her Wing Chun journey. It's the story of my Kung Fu journey. I do Shaolin. But it's the story of my cousin, Dr. Michael Black, and he's just gotten his black belt in Goju Ryu. It's the story of Dr.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he did it at age 63, you know. So he was the ultimate guy to have on this, because he's not just saying you can do it as a mature age adult. He could say, yes, and I've got my black belt too. But it's also the story of Dr. Greg Harris, who he goes to my club. So it's the story of all of us, and Dave Masaros from Manakai Martial Arts, who didn't come back as a mature age student, has been teaching all of that time and teaches many mature age students.
Yeah.
He was also fantastic to have the student, to have the teacher there that can say, I teach people of all ages. This is my thoughts. This is my experience. So there's 5 people's stories in it, but every person that's out there that's watched this podcast has got their story. Even if it's not a martial arts story, you've got a story.
Right. That's right. And that's an impeccable answer. Very well articulated. I've watched your production, and I have to say, I commend you on the product that you've put out, and I know it's going to do very, very well. So congratulations on that. And thank you for taking your time and your expertise, your experience to be here on the Meticulous Moments show. You're part of the MAM family now. You're part of the Meticulous audience and family and guest members. And also, guys in the audience, I'm going to induct David and Stuart into the MAM Hall of Fame, the Meticulous Martial Arts Mastermind Hall of Fame, for their exceptional work out there, the things that they're busy doing, the way that they're shining, the way that they're bringing upliftment. So I just want to say, thank you, David, for a wonderful interview. We will definitely have another session, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your Saturday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Talk soon. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap, guys, here Friday night in Texas in the USA. Wherever in the world you're watching from, just remember, keep punching and, keep marching forward. Life is a movie. Please follow David on his platform and also support the things that he's doing out there. And let's cheer him on, because that's what we do with Meticulous Moments audience members, with our family members, with our guests. We love to cheer people on. We love to support them. So make sure you reach out. And then, guys, just have a lovely weekend. You deserve it. You worked very hard. Have a lovely weekend. Treat yourself and make time to rest as well. And I'll see you in the next session. We'll now be going into the sponsor. Goodbye.
Beginning, baby, that was it. I want it 'cause I take two. I'm into it, figures though, but the photos of you, I never know.
Yeah. My mind and I ain't no social activist, I'm asking this. Stay for a while now. Put the guns down, you can find another way. You can heal from your pain. Stay for a while now. Put the drugs down, you can find another way. You can heal from your pain.
Beginning, baby, that was it. I want it 'cause I take two. I'm into it, figures though.
There's no one like you. valley where the shadows cling lies a base camp of dreams where hopes take wing, but the summit calls out with a voice every night. It's the place where the brave and bold belong. In our hearts we've needed it all along. Now it's time to break free from the chains that bind. Search to the top where dreams take flight. Embrace the unknown, no longer hide. Journey's not easy, but oh, it's right. New beginnings await. Take your first stride. With each step we take, we don't care if we fail. No longer confined to the same trail. As we climb, we find freedom in our glorious tale. We wear authenticity like a badge of honor that always leads into breaking the mold, growing bolder every day we breathe. Search to the top where